All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? I am Is There No One Else? Today is Monday. As you guys know, on Monday, 4.3.0 patch notes for the new Wrathstone DLC game pack. This video is going to be kind of all-encompassing for most of the PvP content, the balance changes for the Wrathstone patch. This is going to be long. I'm going to read through it. I have not read through this yet. These just came out, I think, as of about an hour ago. So I'm going to read through them. I'm going to provide my I'm going to provide my opinion as I read the balance changes. Tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to do like a review of the balance changes in like 5 minutes or less. So if you guys don't want to like listen to potentially 30-40 minutes of this, that's fine. You know, I'll collect my thoughts tomorrow, but for a theory crafter like myself, it's always fun reading balance changes because the quicker we're ahead of the curve, the more we know, the better we can smite our enemies. So with that being said, let's dive into it. Table of contents, new features. DLC game pack has 2 new dungeons, new item sets, new collectibles, new furnishings, so a little bit of everything. There's a new battleground, new PvP collectible and outfit styles, cool. Cyrodiil set updates, zone guide, Guild Trader UI improvements, excellent. New houses, writ reward improvements, new motif, new achievements, champion point increase. What? I thought there wasn't a champion point increase. All right. Imperial City. Okay. Combat and gameplay, combat and abilities, itemization and item sets, base game. All right. 2 new dungeons. We're going to dive into the dungeons because the dungeons have gear sets. Gear sets could be potentially PvP sets, so this is important. We got Frostvault. Despite events in Vollenfell, the scholar Thariah refuses to be deterred from requests for dwarven relics. Thariah's research leads her to a long-lost dwarven ruin. If you guys watched the ESO live from last week, these 2 dungeons are part of like the greater Elsewhere storyline. So each part of these are going to drop part of the tablet. And then, you know, when the Elsewhere DLC drops, you take the tablet, you unlock the dragons, all of that. So it's a year-long storyline. So this is part of it. So if you guys are definitely into the quests, like the dungeons are part of the overall quest line, or so they said. So Depths of Malatar, an unlikely partnership with the spirit of her treacherous ex-husband. Cool. Everybody hates treacherous ex-husbands. Frostvault and Depths of Malatar are 4-player dungeons that can be reached via East March and the Gold Coast, respectively. Okay, both dungeons include a normal version. All right. Unique achievement awards are available for completed dungeons, including a unique player skin, a unique non-combat pet, several titles, unique housing items. All right. New item sets from Frostvault. Icy Conjurer, light armor. Max Magicka, spell damage, spell pen. Excellent. This is, I could be wrong, but this is the second Magicka set that has spell pen in the 4-piece. So the other one is Flame Blossom. 5. Applying a minor debuff to your enemy summons a non-reflectable ice wraith that will charge into your enemy, dealing 19,000 frost damage over 4 seconds. This effect can occur every 12 seconds. Okay. Applying a minor debuff to your enemy. So, minor defile. So if you ran a disease enchant, that should proc it. What other minor debuff? Sorry, I'm trying to think of other skills that apply the minor buffs. A minor debuff. So there's minor defile, minor maim. So if you had, I guess, you know, the first thing I'm thinking of off the top of my head is this would work very well with the Asylum Inferno staff. So, you know, perfected is 2 force pulses or crushing shocks, and it applies minor maim, minor defile, and the burning status effect. So that would proc this. It'll be interesting to see how much or how slow this thing moves. But yeah, I mean that's a lot. I mean we're talking we're talking about you know, Kalurian's legacy level damage here, and I'll quit talking about it now. But this is a huge freaking proc. Yeah, it's not all burst damage. Over 4 seconds. So is it every second for 4 seconds, you know, or is it every 2 seconds? I don't know. But yeah, that's a lot of damage. I'm not even gonna try to say that. Something warband. Sogvines. I think I might have got it. Weapon crit, physical pen. Okay. Number 5. When you deal critical damage with a light or heavy attack, you gain a stack of precision, increasing your weapon critical by 129 for 10 seconds. Up to 10 stacks max. Okay. At max stacks, you also gain minor force, increasing your critical damage done by 10%. Wow. Wow. You know, I'm not a PvE guy, but I'm pretty sure a bunch of PvE guys will be drooling over that one. I mean, this is a really good PvP set as well. I mean, minor force. If it works like every other set, which it should. I mean, the 2, 3, and 4 piece is fantastic. I mean, that's really good damage. And then the 5 piece, like you're doing light attacks every 10 seconds anyways. As long as you keep hitting those light attacks, it's going to happen. And as the fight drags on, you just constantly are adding more pressure. You know, because you're going to just have more crit. You're going to have more crit. And then all of a sudden, you're going to get 10% more damage on top of it. So that's pretty crazy. That's a really unique set that actually goes really well with another set that I want to run on another build of mine. So I'm going to test this one out. Yeah, very, very unique. And obviously, like, you know, if it works like the Asylum, you know, you only have to hit a light attack every 10 seconds, and then it resets the timer. So, you know, as long as you hit a light attack every 10 seconds, you're going to keep stacking this precision. So, I wonder, do you have to hit the same person? I don't think so. It's not reading it that way. So, those would be my questions. Do you have to hit the same person? And that's pretty much it. You know, how fast can you kill somebody once it's all procced? So, pretty neat. Mighty Glacier. 2-piece max stamina, 3-piece max magicka, 4-piece stamina and magicka recovery. Okay. 5. When you cast a snare or immobilize ability, or hit a target with a snare or immobilize ability, you and up to 11 group members gain major resolve and major ward for 15 seconds, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5280. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Alright, so this is like a magicka DK, magicka warden style support set. It's interesting. I mean, you already get this buff with, you know, Frost Glacier or the icy one from the warden, so it's not like wardens would necessarily run this since you can buff everybody with it already. It's cool. I mean, 15 seconds, and it can occur once every 10 seconds. And if it's your job to snare, you're just going to give your entire group major resolve and major reward. I mean, maybe it's worth taking the skill off the bar. Maybe. It's interesting. I wouldn't say it's worthless. I'm just saying it's interesting. So, yeah. Stonekeeper, Monster Mask. Well, there we go. This is our first tri-stat piece. The 1 piece is max magicka, max stamina, and max health. That's excellent. Like they definitely needed to do this at some point, so I really like that. 2, when you block an attack, you gain an energy charge stack up to 1 stack per second. When you gain 6 charges, you release the energy, restoring 5350 stamina and magicka and healing for 5350. After releasing the charges, you cannot regain new charges for 14 seconds. You block an attack. Alright. That's an interesting set. So it's a tripod essentially every 4 seconds, half a tripod every 14 seconds. So if we pull up our handy dandy calculator, let's see how much recovery this is. because I haven't been sleeping a whole lot lately, guys. I can't do this type of math in my head this quickly right now. So 764 recovery every 14 seconds if you can do it off a cooldown. So that's all stats for a 2-piece. Wow. So the first thing that comes to mind is a sword and board, blocking, stam, DK. You know, the whole, you know, hold block, block cat, you know, just, I could see it on a Magicka DK. I could see it on a stam DK. I could see this potentially on a Magic Templar. You know, classes that are really getting focused. Like this type of set on a Magic Templar seems to make a lot of sense when you're really getting focused. So you're block casting all the time because once people see Magplars, you're just going to get hit. And yeah, I mean, that's a lot of resources every 14 seconds. I don't know. It seems a little OP in my opinion. I hate to say OP, but like that's a lot. I mean, it really is. You start adding in heavy armor passives, you add in this, and it's like, part of me thinks that they're wanting to bring back the permablock class, the permablock builds, because this will be pretty damn close to it. So, yeah. All right. Depths of Malatar. Auroran's Thunder, light, max health, spell damage, spell pen. Okay, so another spell pen. 5-piece. When you damage a nearby enemy with a single target ability, you summon a cone of lightning from your chest for 3 seconds, dealing 1285 shock damage every 0.5 seconds to the enemies in the cone. This effect can occur every 6 seconds. Oh my gosh, this is some Teletubby shit. So we're going to have like a circle coming out of our chest. Wow. With a single target ability. I was going to say, like, this would work really well in a Magplar, but sweeps aren't single target. What's the range? That's what I would wonder. What's the range on this? Like, how far away is it? How far does the Teletubby shock damage go? God, I just want to see this proc now. Like, maybe by the time we're done with this, maybe we can just go straight into the PTS. I'm going to start downloading it now really quick. Sorry, guys. Like this just completely changed everything. I'm sorry for sidetracking. I'm just gonna load this up really quick, and then we'll get in there and we'll get it downloading. Scavenging Demise. Medium, weapon damage, weapon crit, 5-piece. When you deal critical poison damage to an enemy, summon the Scavenging Maw, who, after 2 seconds, attacks the enemy, dealing 7,000 poison damage and inflicting minor vulnerability for 15 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 8%. This effect can occur every 10 seconds. Alright, so critical poison damage. Obviously, any double dot poisons. 2, 3, and 4 pieces nice. After 2 seconds, attacks the enemy. Good poison damage. Minor vulnerability is fantastic. Yeah, so you give them minor vulnerability for 15 seconds with a 10-second cooldown. The set looks interesting. Like, especially for like a Stam DK or Stam Nightblade. I'll have to test this one out as well. Frozen Watcher. Max Stam, max health, max Stam. 5-piece, summon a blizzard around you while blocking, inflicting 1,000 frost damage every 1 second to enemies within your blizzard. Your blizzard has a 15% chance of inflicting chilled on enemies damage. Cool. And a 2-piece, Symphony of Blades. 1-piece, 2% healing done. 1-piece is the 2% healing done, sorry. 2-piece is when you heal an ally whose primary resource is under 50%, grant them Meridia's Favor, restoring 23/25 of that resource every 1 second for 6 seconds. Holy shit. Oh boy. So my only question with this set is, it says 18-second cooldown. Is it 18-second cooldown for that specific person? That's what I would ask. You know, so for that specific person, is it an 18-second cooldown, or is it an 18-second cooldown for one proc? It's not really descriptive there, but that is crazy. So that turns out to almost 5,000 recovery. So they're going to get 15,000 of a resource over 16 seconds, essentially. Pretty close to it. Just under 15,000, 14 something. That's a lot. That really is a lot. So once again, if we do 14,000-ish, you know, actually, I mean, I could just, we have a calculator here. We could literally do the exact math. Look at that, guys. 13,950. So we'll do that divided by 9. So overall, counting the cooldown, it turns out to 1550 recovery for whoever this procs on. So let's say you run with a buddy, and yeah, and they drop below 50%. You're essentially giving them 1550 recovery on cooldown. So counting the cooldown, counting all that, that's a lot. That's a really cool idea. Yeah, I just wonder about what the cooldown is. Is it 1 or is it multiple? You know, is it 18 seconds per person? New collectibles, new furnishings, new battleground, new PvP, collectible and outfit styles, Cyrodiil set updates. All right, we've been wanting to improve and update older item sets to keep them in line with newer sets. A sentiment that you've also expressed. We want to limit the disruption of current player builds, so we redesigned 6 Cyrodiil sets that we found are being used by a smaller number of players. The intent is to rework these sets while retaining their original flavor. All right, so Deadly Strike used to be a 3-piece set. Nobody runs it anymore because it's a 3-piece set, and it's not as good as Agility. So that's why. The new piece is Weapon Damage, Weapon Crit, Weapon Damage. 2, 3, and 4 is fantastic. 5-piece. Increase the damage your physical, bleed, poison, and disease damage over time abilities do by 14%. Wow, that's really cool. Wow. So this would work really well on my Stam DK build, because I'm running the physical dot with the Maelstrom axe, which also has the bleed, and then I'm a DK and I'm running a lot of poison damage over time effects. So interesting. That's really interesting. Buffer of the Swift. The old was healing taken, max health, reduce damage taken from players by 5%. This was always interesting, you know, but the 5-piece just made it not worth it. When you take damage from a spell, you have a 10% chance to gain a damage shield that absorbs 2580 damage for 6 seconds. This effect can occur every 4 seconds. It just wasn't good enough. This reduced damage from players by 5% was cool, though. New piece, Max Magicka, physical resist, spell resist, reduced damage from taken from players by 10%. Wow. I did not read ahead, guys. I promise. Wow. 2-piece Max Magicka is really weird. I'm pretty sure this is a medium armor set. So I'm almost certain this is a medium armor set, or it used to be. But it's a good way to gain. This is a lot of resistances for the 3 and 4-piece, you know. And then, yeah, reduce damage. So another way to gain medium armor passives, or heavy armor. You know, imagine running this on a Nord, essentially, with medium armor. So you get the Nord passives. You get this resistance. You're essentially in heavy, but you're in medium. And you get this reduced damage by 10% with Ulti-Gen. Like, hello, new Stam DK build. You run that with, like, Hulking Draugr, Bone Pirates, Spriggans, you know, pick your damage set, whichever one you like more. Yeah, this is really interesting. Really interesting. Lessian Order, old, 129 stamina recovery, healing taken, max health, increase the immunity to disabling effects after using break free by 3 seconds. This one was always kind of cool too. New one, physical resist, spell resist, awesome, max health, awesome. Increases your health recovery by 1% of your sum total physical and spell resistance. Wow. Seriously? Okay. So this could be essentially 300 or 400 recovery, roughly. Health recovery. Interesting. So we got a typo here. There's another set. I can't remember the name of this one. I will remember it. Spell resistance, max health. Spell resistance, you have a 40% chance to intercept any projectile cast an ally within 5 meters of you. It is now spell resistance, max health, physical resistance. So all the PvP sets are resistance heavy. Generate an aura that causes you and 11 group members within the aura to take 10% less damage from projectiles. You can only be affected by one instance. Yeah, so this is the Beckoning Steel set. Interesting. This is a really interesting set. Another utility to running tanks. Like, this is actually a good PvP tank set. 10% less damage from projectiles. So siege, everything. That's for 11 people. That's a lot. That is a lot. Curse Eater, max health, max magicka, magicka recovery. That was a good, interesting set. Sorry. New set. Max magicka, magicka recovery. Cool. When you heal yourself or an ally, remove 2 negative effects from them. If a negative effect was removed this way, your target restores 150 magicka. This effect can occur every 2 seconds. Okay. That is a lot of purging. Holy shit. Wow. Okay, so I'm just gonna... Okay. When you heal yourself or an ally, you remove 2 negative effects from them. So this happens every 2 seconds. You can remove 2 negative effects. So, what classes? The classes that I'm seeing that immediately work for this, I mean, literally any Magicka class will run this. I mean, if you're running Magicka DK or Magplar, you have heals over time running all the time. Okay, so your Purify is a heal over time. If you're running Burning Embers, your Burning Embers is going to heal you. When you're uncoagulating, coagulating is going to heal you. If you have Mutagen, Mutagen is going to heal you. So every 2 seconds for these procs, you're going to remove 2 negative effects from an ally. And obviously there's a ton of negative effects, but this is a very cool set. This is also a very cool set. There's potential in this, in my opinion. Sentry set. Old, max stamina, weapon damage, weapon crit, 5-piece, increase the rating so you can detect sneaky enemies by 50%, increase your damage done to sneaky enemies by 20%, and then 129 weapon damage. New, stamina, weapon damage, weapon crit, excellent, 2, 3, and 4-piece. When you begin to crouch, gain stealth detection for 10 seconds. This effect can only be activated every 30 seconds, and then 129 weapon damage. Wow, that's a cool little set too. Zone Guide. Guild Trader UI improvements, new houses, new motif, new achievements, champion point increase. Yeah, will not be increased. No champion points increased. Jester Festival. Yada, yada, yada. Asylum Sanctorium. Dungeons. Scale Caller. Group content. Imperial City Prison. Quests, zones, general. Do we have... balance changes? We might not. Quests, UI, Master Marina, General, Quests, Maw of Lorcage, March of Sacrifices, Combat, and Abilities. Alright. Gonna take a break here. Forgot my password. Alright, whatever. We'll do that in a minute. Alright, fix an issue where your ability bars could appear desynced from the actual weapon you were holding. If you attempted a bar swap too frequently while casting in another ability. Excellent. Fix an issue where some crowd control abilities could cause targets to get stuck in water. Okay. Successful heavy attacking a target that is blocking will now provide half the resources rather than none. This means if your heavy attack would restore 2160 stamina normally, and a target blocks it, it will now restore 1080 rather than 0. This change is aimed at retracting from some of the polar counterplay that this mechanic previously provided. Before, you merely activate a block while you're trying to recuperate resources, you could continuously starve your recovery. The change now helps reward thoughtful gameplay where meaningful activation of block can determine the flow of combat with less stark contrast. Dodging a heavy attack still prevents all resources from recovering. We will continue to investigate this performance and see if other adjustments are required. Okay. Not a big deal changer either way there, I don't think. All pets will now inherit your bonus and derived stats. This means that your critical hit chance, critical hit multipliers, champion points, and other % damage or healing amplifications will be applied to any pet you summon. Items that summon pets will continue to not inherit your critical strike chance. Makes sense? Enchants on one-handed weapons will now be half the potency of those placed on two-handed weapons. This will apply the damage to the damage and effectiveness of enchants, but will not affect the cooldown. This means an enchant that would normally have a 4-second cooldown and deal 4,000 damage on a two-handed weapon will deal 2,000 damage, but still have a 4-second cooldown. This change was made to better align with the current functionality of differences in one-handed and two-handed weapons. Traits and item set slot progression are worth twice as much on two-handed weapons than they are on one-handed weapons, and the previous interaction broke that paradigm in the case of enchantment performance. Absolutely. Well done. Buffs and debuffs. Fix an issue where major and minor evasion were affecting skills they should not have been. The following abilities and sets will no longer be reduced by major and minor evasions. Damage reduction. Force Pulse, Overwhelming Surge, Radial Uppercut, Selene's, Sheer Venom, Shrouded Daggers, Bounce Damage, Trap Beast and its Morphs, Unfathomable Darkness. Abilities that provide major buffs that are not associated with healing or damage will now apply to a maximum of 12 targets. Below are the following abilities affected by this change. Frost Cloak and Morphs will now affect 12 targets instead of 6. Molten Weapons and Morphs will now affect 12 targets instead of 6. Rapid Maneuvers and Morphs will now affect 12 targets instead of 2. Warhorn and Morphs will now affect 12 targets instead of 24. Due to the structure of our group size and targeting systems in place, we wanted a healthier balance in terms of how abilities hit targets. Previously, many abilities hit only 6 players, such as Molten Weapons or Frostcloak, while other abilities hit 24 players, Rapids or Warhorn, which left a large disparity in their performance and how groups engage with them. We used the trial group size as a healthy medium since it was in the middle of 4-player dungeon content and large-scale warfare in Cyrodiil. Please note that we consider abilities that heal or do damage as higher impact, thus their additional affixes will continue to only hit 6 targets for the time being. Fix an issue where gaining any source of Empower would override a previous source, even if the duration was shorter. The longest lasting duration of Empower will always gain priority. Alright, Dragon Knight. Draconic Power, Spiked Armor. Fix an issue where the damage return of this ability and its morphs applied before an attacker had completed their attack, which could prevent bonuses such as Stealth to apply. The damage return will now fire after the incoming attack is completed, rather than when it began. Earth and Heart. Obsidian Shard. Fix an issue where the heal from this ability and its morphs was not prioritizing players over pets. Alright. Assassination Mark Target. Updated the death recap hint for this ability to more accurately describe its functionality. Shadow Cloak. Fix an issue where this ability and its morphs were being removed from damage over time effects from siege weaponry that was applied to your character, such as fired ballistas damage over time. Sorcerer, Daedric Summoning. Updated tooltips for all summon abilities to better indicate the damage or healing they provide. Storm Calling. Boundless Storm reduced the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 34%. Perfect. After the recent changes to sourcing of Major Expedition, the Morph Boundless Storm highlighted a problem of this ability where its cost was far too high for the operational power that it provided. We based the new cost to be more in line with other sources of Major Ward and Resolve. In turn, this brought Boundless Storm to a much healthier state where the short duration of the Major Expedition can be offset with a lesser cost so that the recasting earlier is a valid choice. Implosion. Rename this passive to Amplitude. This passive is now a reverse execute mechanic. It increases your damage against targets by 1% for every 10% health they currently have. This passive is now a reverse execute mechanic and increase your damage against targets by 1% for every 10% health they currently have. So you do 10% more damage at 100% health, 9% more at 90%, 1% at 10%. All right. Oh, developer comment, it's in here. Okay, so I was right. This change was aimed at helping sorcerers' damage production go up while helping them in the targeted gameplay pattern of getting targets into specific health thresholds, detracting from the feeling of uncontrollable burst for the caster and sudden moments of low telegraphed high damage for the target. The HP thresholds for the damage are as follows: 100% health, 10% damage. 99 to 90, 9. 89 to 80, 8. Okay, so anywhere in that range, you're doing X amount more damage. So 9 to 0 is 1%, 10 to 20, 19.9 is 1%. So they're getting rid of Implosion, which I think is a fantastic change. All right, guys. I apologize in advance. This is going to be my rant for the day. But in my opinion, I like this game more when random chance is based off of your crit value. You know, you have burst built into your crit value. You know, anytime you crit and hit multiple crits in a row, that's your burst. You know, that's how most fighting games should work. Like, sometimes you don't crit, you don't have that burst. Sometimes you crit 3 times in a row. That's your RNG crit chance to just fucking melt somebody, okay? And that's how most games function. That's how this game functions. But this game also adds chances with proc sets and with things like Implosion. And Implosion wasn't like super overpowered for like the last year or anything like that. And I'm not bitching about that in general. I'm just saying I do not like hitting a threshold that can automatically do X amount of damage and then, you know, kill you. So when you drop below 10% health, 25% health, I think my Stamsork's tooltip was like 15k physical damage or 13k or something like that. So if I had you below 25% health and I have Hurricane up and I have Rending Slashes on you and all these dots, all those things can proc Implosion, and that's how I could kill you. Now, like, you're just going to do more damage. Now you just have 10% more damage. And when they're in execute range, you have your executes. You're not doing more scaled damage, but you'll have, you know, Steel Tornado or Reverse Slice or whatever that will scale. And so this is a 10% flat buff starting out for all Sorks, which is, in my opinion, is fantastic. Like, Magicka Sorks, you know, your burst combo is all within a second or two. So your Curse, your Frag, Mage's Wrath, it's all combo, and your goal is to try and get it to land all at the same time. And so if it lands close to the same time, you're going to get a 10% damage boost. You know, I think the goal will be to try and hit your frag a little bit before your curse goes off, because you want the 10% on the frag, and then you want the curse, and then you want the Mage's Wrath. I think that's how you want to do it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And obviously for a Stamsork, your opener is just going to be fucking amazing. You know, and obviously as they get lower health, you know, then you can, you know, hit your executes. I like this more. You know, this, I don't know. I could be in the wrong here. I know there's going to be some Stamsorks that are going to be really upset about this because they're used to Implosion for a very long time. But I like this change overall for sorcerers. I think this is really cool. And also this is a really cool way to apply to PvE as well. So they get 10% more flat damage. You know, on a big target boss, you're just doing X amount more damage at higher health, and then execute range you're executing. So really cool idea. I want to see how that performs. Overload. Your weapon will no longer be visible while you're casting a light or heavy attack while this ability or its morphs are toggled on. Fix an issue where these abilities' heavy attacks will not benefit from ultimate cost reduction. All right. Energy Overload Morph. Fix an issue where the magic return for this morph would fail to fire if the ability was reflected. Okay. Templar. Dawn's Wrath. Blazing Shield. Fix an issue where this ability had an erroneous field that limited the damage dealt to 10% of the caster's health. Solar Barrage. Increase the damage dealt by this morph by approximately 10%. It's pretty big. This ability now grants an infinite empower bonus during the entire duration, instead of firing a single empower bonus after each tick. Internally found melee-based Magic Templars specifically were struggling to contend with other melee damage dealing spots in organized play, such as fully optimized raiding environments that have access to many empowering and debilitating abilities. And this change is aimed at remedying that. We specifically targeted more of the single target damage production of this class with this change, as their cleave DPS is in a relatively healthy spot. It's a cool idea. Restoring Light, Cleansing Ritual, fix an issue where the heal from this ability and its morphs were not prioritizing the most injured targets inside the area. Warden, Animal Companion, Swarm. Fixed an issue where the visual effects from this ability and its morphs would persist on targets who entered invisibility or stealth. Growing Swarm fixed an issue where this ability could target enemies in sneak or invisibility when attempting to spread to a new target. Wild Guardian fixed an issue where the Crushing Swipe ability could only hit up to 6 targets. Green Balance Soothing Spores fixed an issue where this morph was using your spell critical instead of your weapon critical. Alright, it's a buff for Stamplars. You know, this is how it should function, but that is a buff for Stamplars. Weapon, two-handed heavy weapons. Reduce the bleed applied from the axe version of this passive by approximately 12%. Excellent. Increase the damage bonus from the sword version of this passive to 6%. Wow. Okay. Momentum. Fix an issue where the healing from this ability and its morphs were unintentionally proccing melee attack related requirements. Dual wield. Twin blade and blunt. Reduce the bleed applied from the axe version of this passive by approximately 12%. Increase the damage bonus from the sword version passive to 3% per sword equipped. The axe version of both twin blade and heavy weapons were previously over budgeted, provided far more total damage to your target than other weapon types. Additionally, the bleeds applied from these weapons were performing well against all armor types rather than focusing on being better against only targets with high physical resistance. We are still closely monitoring the bleed from these passives and investigating better ways to distinguish the play patterns that axes and maces provide. The sword version of both these passives were also under budgeted since their bonuses were additive. We've increased this to 6% in the meantime to fix some truncation issues with dual wield, and we'll continue to investigate ways to ensure swords remain a viable choice of weapon type. Interesting. Yeah, so they're going after bleeds here, which I think is good. Obviously, bleeds are very powerful, so they're nerfing bleeds. 12%, I don't know if it's enough, but it's a good start. Bow, Scattershot. Fix an issue where the stun applied from this ability its morphs was not able to be broken until after the knockback had completed, which made it feel less responsive to CC break. Thank you. Thank you. Volley. Fix an issue where the abilities from Volley or its morphs were unintentionally blockable. Since this ability is a ground-based area of effect, damage over time ability, it is intended to follow the same rule sets of others which cannot be blocked or dodged. Facts. Okay. Destruction passive. Ancient Knowledge. Remove the requirement of having Destruction Staff ability slotted to gain the effect of this passive. Now you simply need to equip the Destruction Staff type of the buff you want to gain the bonus it provides. Huge change. This passive was far too restrictive in the sense that it required you to be actively wielding the weapon type necessary to unlock the desired passive, while also slotting an ability from that skill line as well. Now you only need to equip the staff type desired. Awesome. So, this isn't like a huge change, I don't think, for a lot of people. I run staffs on most of my builds, and most of my builds I run a destruction skill anyways. You know, Force Pulse, Clench, whatever. But I've wanted to run a Destro staff on my Magicka DK for a while. And I wanted to run like a single target with it. But the only way to really get that on my front bar is slotting like Elemental Drain. You know, or, I mean, you could run Clench, but when you have Fossilize, why would you want to run a CC that can be blocked? You know, it just didn't make a lot of sense. You know, and why would you want to knock somebody back? You know, so that one didn't make a lot of sense. Why would I run Force Pulse when I can run Whip? You know, all these things. And so, for a DK specifically in PvP, I was just not a huge fan of running a Destruction Staff. Didn't want to run Destrold, I'd rather run Leap. You know, now I can run my Burning Spellweave Inferno Staff. That's fantastic. Shock Clench. Fix an issue where the area of effect detonation of the ability, Shock Clench Explosion, was not able to critically strike. This ability will now properly scale with your spell critical rating and inherent your critical hit damage modifiers. Alright. Soul Magic. Soul Trap. Fix an issue where the initial hit from this ability or its morphs could remove targets from sneak or invisibility if they were near the impact of the initial target. Vampire. Fix an issue where the visual effects of movement speed buffs were displaying ground invisible legs while entering Mist Form or its morphs. You will no longer look like a running dust cloud when in Mist Form with a movement speed buff. Okay. Werewolf. Fix an issue where the bleed applied from light attacks while in Werewolf transformation or its morphs could still trigger enchantments. RIP. Fixed an issue where your character would turn invisible when transforming back into human form after jumping into a new area. Excellent. Inner Fire. The synergy granted from this ability and its morphs now have a minimum range of 12 meters to activate instead of 18 meters. Rejoice, you no longer need to sprint back and forth from varying ranges like an Olympian to activate these bonuses. Okay, Sigic Order. Imbue Weapon. The resource return from failing to consume this ability will now only return a portion of the resources rather than all of them. This was done to fix an issue where you could get more resources back than you had originally casted it with when used in tandem with resources of cost reduction. Deliberation fixed an issue where major protection granted from this passive was unintendedly stronger than other sources of major protection. Alright. Alliance War Assault fixed an issue where the ability and smorphs were unintentionally proccing abilities with a ranged attack prerequisite, rapid maneuvers. This ability and smorphs will no longer provide immunity to snares or immobilizes. Okay, this morph will no longer remove current snares or immobilizations and will instead grant affected allies a bonus that reduces their damage taken from behind by 15%. After the changes to Major Expedition in Update 20, we wanted to make sure all abilities that provided the buff were given the same pass, yet Rapid Maneuvers was left untouched. Correct. We wanted to spend more time fleshing out a new identity for this ability, while still retaining the unique group play it enabled. Since the removal of snares and immobilizes is such a powerful tool, we removed that function from the skill since it was allowing large groups to ignore incorporating those types of abilities in their individual builds. We repurposed retreating maneuvers for something that was strictly defensive, as the name implied, so you'll now take less damage when being attacked from the backside as you reposition or retreat. So now all large groups function like all small groups. It's still shitty. Like, it sucks that you can't have mobilization to snares. But at least everybody is in that shitty situation together now, I guess. Purge. Fix an issue where this ability and its morphs did not properly benefit from the Magic Aid passive. Fix an issue where these abilities would not trigger requirements when purging an ally. You're totally purging your allies. Alright. Racial passives. Racial passives that pertain to combat bonuses have gone through reevaluation to better align their performance in regard to our set bonus efficiency standard, while improving the unique gameplay elements the races provide. We've converted many of the percent bonuses into flat bonus so there's less variability in how these races interact with player builds, but we've balanced the total number of them so they give similar values of optimized builds. We've refunded all racial passives to help highlight the changes made to each race, so make sure to respend them when you log in. Below you'll find each passive's original functionality first and the new change listed after if applicable. I'm going to read through these quietly, and if it's no different than what it was last week, then I'm not going to read them. So it looks like it's the same as last week. So I'm just going to double check. Yeah. So all the changes that I talked about last week, they're all the same. So far. Yep. So, yeah, they haven't addressed these yet. Hopefully they tweak a couple things. But I like those changes overall. Yeah, we'll just move on. Item sets. Fix an issue where multiple sets were not prioritizing the most injured targets in their respective conditions. The following sets now prioritize players who are the most injured, rather than players closest to the center or caster of the ability. Amalexia's Mercy, Draugr's Rest, Night Flame. While AoE healing abilities target the lowest health allies in their vicinity, AoE damage abilities target the enemies closest to the epicenter of the attack, the more you know. Deadly Strike. The set now drops in Robust instead of Healthy, and drops in Medium Armor slots due to the updates made to this set. Deadwater's Guile. Fix an issue where you could get multiple procs from the set from a single kill. Note that multiple players wearing this set still can generate ultimate when sharing a kill. Engine Guardian. Fix an issue where the set could not trigger from abilities with a health cost associated with them. Flanking Strategist. You now gain 400 weapon damage against a target when attacking from the side or the back. Okay, that makes it a lot better. Fix an issue where the set was increasing your healing done. Let's see what they have to say. After creating the Spell Strategist set, we decided to rebalance the set to be a better comparison for it to stamina-based characters, while still having a unique mechanic built in to emphasize on positioning. Note that this set still has the potential to apply area of effect attacks, so the value will be lower than Spell Strategist. Okay. Grothar. Fix an issue where the damage from the set can be blocked. Merciless Charge. Fix an issue where the damage over time of this ability can be blocked. Plague Slinger. Plague Slinger's Skeever corpses now correctly display the radius of the Skeever projectile. Plague Slinger now fires 5 projectiles instead of 4. Plague Slinger now fires after a 1 second delay instead of a 1.5 second delay. Okay. Plague Slinger has a relatively low damage output for a DPS set with plenty of counterplay. We reduce the delay of the first hit to ensure better hitting the enemy with at least 1 poison shot, and increase the number of projectiles to encourage combining Plague Slinger with CC abilities. With these changes, Plague Slinger will be more in line with the damage scaling of other damage proc sets. Okay. Sentinel of Rakugams redesigned the functionality of the Dwemer Spider summoned from the set. Pet will no longer attempt to follow the target that is trying to heal. The pet can no longer be targeted, such as cannot be pushed around from enemy attacks anymore. The pet will now last the full duration and offer a proper amount of healing and stamina over its duration. Soldier of Anguish. This item set will no longer drop bows and staves, as the item set triggers off melee light attacks, which those items types cannot deliver. Virulent Shot. Fix an issue where the damage over time from this set could be blocked and dodged. Alright. Snares from Siege Scattershot and Siege Trebuchet Ice Ball can now be purged. Minigards now have damage shields that soak up damage appropriately. Expanding subzones between keeps and resources in several areas to better permit credit assignment of attack and defense bonuses. Increase the defense AP for keeps and outposts. Cool. Siege weaponry that applies dots will no longer break invisibility from players when hit. Alright. Move the flags in Deeping Drome. Animation, figure, crafting economy, outfits, dungeons and group content, trials, exploration itemization, achievements, fishing, gameplay, mementos, housing, furnishing, homes. I think we're getting to the end here, guys. Alliance War and PvP, fix an issue where the battleground leaderboard wouldn't immediately display in the leaderboard screen. Okay. Crafting, crown store, gamepad mode, gameplay. That's it. All right. So not a ton of balance changes. They didn't go after every class. Like the last few patches, the class balance changes were for like week 2 and week 3. Sets look really good. Sets look really interesting. We'll have to get out there and test them for sure. I will download the PTS. Obviously, if you haven't seen the racial passives, go back and look at those. I'll post a link in the video. I have a video on it myself. Everybody has a video on it. Definitely check that out. Overall, like I feel like these look pretty good. I'd like to see a few more balance changes, but I have no complaints about the sets. I have no complaints about the improvements. You know, fixing some of the minor issues goes a long way. So, what do you guys think? I'm gonna leave the video there because you know we're adding a lot of time here. So please comment in the section below. Thank you for watching, guys.